Welcome to Bright Pink Soul, a true intuitive podcast where I get to chat with other bright pink souls. I'm SK, your psychic medium and friend. Today's episode is brought to you by Soul Sessions with SK, because you're not meant to figure it out alone. For a personal reading and Zesty Life Tarot, come find me at skcothren.com. That's skcothren.com. Today on Bright Pink Soul, I get to chat with Debra Jordan-Kauble, who is one of the most recognized experiencers of alien contact. Her story, under the alias Kathy Davis, was first published in the international bestseller Intruders: The Incredible Visitations at Copley Woods by Bud Hopkins. In 1992, CBS made a TV miniseries with the same name. In 1994, she co-authored with her sister Kathy Mitchell, Abducted: The Story of the Intruders Continues. In August 2021, Debra's second book, Extraordinary Contact: Life Beyond Intruders, was published by August Night Press and is available at most online booksellers, including Amazon. She is a former Indiana MUFON investigator, co-founded her own paranormal group, co-hosts two podcasts, Midwest Paratalk Radio and Voices of Contact, and co-admins the CERO, which I'm not sure what that stands for, I'll have to ask you about that, Midwest Experiencer Facebook page. She spends most of her time behind the scenes helping other witnesses. She is a retired auto industry worker, cosmetologist, Red Cross volunteer, member of Mensa, wife, mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. Hello and welcome, Deb. I'm thrilled to talk to you in person.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you.
I appreciate the invite.
Well, you've had extraordinary experiences that most people dream about or have nightmares about, depending on how
depends on your perspective, I guess.
Yes. So, of course, we were talking earlier, and I absolutely love your book, Extraordinary Contact: Life Beyond Intruders. But for people who haven't heard of you or just barely know a little bit about your story, can you just give us I know it's hard because you have so many experiences and I want to know about all of them, but just kind of a recap leading up to today of your experiences, sharing your story and where it's been shared.
Well, I've had like paranormal and non-human intelligence contact my whole life, pretty much. My earliest memory is at about age 7. And it was intermittent throughout, growing up in varying degrees, as well as coming up in a family that was open-minded to all this sort of thing, but it wasn't something we talked about or dwelled on. I had an older sister who had an experience in 1965 that I grew up hearing because she was like 11 years older than me. And I just assumed everybody had these sort of experiences and saw these things. It was normal to me. I didn't know any different. And then I had a few more pronounced contact experiences when I reached my late teens and early 20s as a young adult. And then by the time I was a single mom single again, and a mother of 2 and moved back home with my parents, I had the event of June 30th, 1983 that ended up becoming the event that Bud Hopkins wrote about in his book, Intruders, which was an international bestseller.
Yes.
Unbelievably to us, when he first approached us, after he began the investigation into that experience, into that event that happened, about 2 years in, he approached the family and said, "Hey, you know what? This is an important experience, and I would like to write a book about it because I want the world to know about this. This is important because that experience had physical trace cases, other witnesses, physical damage to myself, physical damage to my children, to my dog, and a lot of other things were wrapped up in it. It's quite a big story. And if folks want to learn more about that, they can actually go to my website and read the entire thing. It's long, but
yeah, and I'll put your website on the show notes so people know where to go.
Okay, great. And then he came to us and he said, I want the world to hear about this case. This is an important case. And at first my family and I both were like, I don't think so, because the point of me contacting him to begin with was to help me figure it out. So,
Sure.
I was of the mindset to tell me this isn't what I think it is. Let's, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because I needed to not lose my mind and stay safe, because I had 2 little kids who depended on me.
Sure.
And I needed to get my ducks in a row. And this was literally, once June 30, 83 happened and left that big mark in the yard, I basically had a nervous breakdown, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what it felt like anyway.
Yeah. And understandably so. My goodness.
Well, and it was terrifying. The other events in my life when I was a little younger scared me as well, because I didn't understand them. My greatest fear is my fear of the unknown, basically. And then, June 30, 83 was just terrifying on many levels, and it injured me, also physically, that I had to deal with that for like a year. And my eyes still aren't right, by the way.
Was it because of the light?
Yes, I believe so. I don't have any proof, and I never will be able to have any, solid proof of that. But my eyes were fine before that night. And after that night, once they healed, I went super farsighted.
Oh, wow.
And never wore glasses till then.
Wow.
And by the time I was 30, I was diagnosed with cataracts and macular degeneration in my mid-30s. And by the time I just barely reached 50, I had lost my lenses and had to have those replaced. And my vision is fading, but slowly. I'm doing well, but I blame it on that night, even though I know I can't prove it, and some people aren't going to believe that. But that's fine.
I believe your story, and there's no need for, and I just want you to know this, I don't need you to prove anything to me. I believe your story.
No.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that, yeah.
And the reason for that is I'm a psychic medium. I know when someone's lying, and I know when someone's telling a true story, something that happened to them. And it's so easy for me. It's been easy all my life to know when someone's fabricating something or telling the truth. And, and when someone's joking, I can tell the difference between sarcasm or, you know what I mean? But,
yeah. But I'm the same way.
I believe your story 100%. And as far as I'm concerned, this is information that people need to know about, because we know that so many people have experienced similar things. And I know people reach out to you all the time, probably, because they've had similar experiences and they felt scared to talk about it.
Over the last 40 years, I have met hundreds and hundreds, if not maybe thousands of people like me. Then I've gotten letters, and I've got a whole satchel of letters that were written to me before email even existed, and lots of emails, especially once my husband and I set up the website. And I set that up as a place and a point where someone could write me if they just wanted to share their stories, because I thought sharing these kinds of stories is important for your healing. And like I said, I started out in a place of fear, and my experiences early on were fearful. And as I've grown and my experiences have changed from the physical to like the metaphysical is the best way for me to describe it. I've lost that fear, and I want people that are still in the fear mode of this whole thing to understand that you can get past this, and you don't have to be afraid, and you can grow through this.
Yes.
So, and that's what I've done. That's why we set up the website, so people can reach out to me, and then we can help each other. It's mutual helping, because it helps me to connect with other people like me. And
absolutely.
it helps me as well.
Yeah, so I have a question about that. It seems like your main experience has been with the Greys. Is that true?
That's what I mostly remember. I do have some memories of a few unusual contacts with apparent human-looking or human people, actually.
Okay.
But mostly it's been, just the little guys with the big eyes. That's what I call them.
Yeah.
I always call them those little guys.
Did you see a tall Grey as well?
I may have seen Greys that were a little bit taller than some of the other ones, but they all basically look the same to me.
Okay.
You know what I found interesting in my older sister's experience? She mostly remembers having experience with what people describe as the mantis type.
Okay.
But and I thought that's odd, because we're from the same family, and the same parents. Why would there be different things? But then it pointed out to me that a lot of times people will report seeing those two together. So I don't know if that means anything or not, but I just find it a little interesting.
Sure. So when you get these letters from people, what race of aliens do they mainly talk about?
Most of the people that I get letters from talk about the Greys.
Okay.
The little gray guys. But I have gotten letters from people who've experienced things with like the reptilian, like lizardy looking guys.
Yeah.
Those ones seem to be a little more terrifying. I mean, they're a lot more afraid.
Yeah.
When I've gotten letters from people like that, but I don't speak on that, because I've not had that experience with that kind.
Sure.
At least not that I recall consciously. So
okay. Yeah, I was just, I know recently in Congress, I believe it was a general, but I can't remember. They testified about 4 different races that are generally the ones that interact with us here on Earth the most. I don't know if you heard that, but
no, I didn't. Do you remember what?
It's
I'm just curious.
The Greys, the mantis beings, the tall, the Nordics.
Like the tall whites is what I've heard.
The tall whites,
them,
the blonde, blue-eyed kind of. I mean, that's the way I understand.
When I say people, that's kind of what I mean. They look like people, but they're just really gorgeous.
Yeah, have you seen them in regular life, like walking along, or where did you experience them?
That's funny, because like I guess I'm so aware of things now that I notice things more around me. But like I'll go to Walmart and walk around, and I will like see some. I'll never forget. I was at Walmart one time, and it's been several years ago. And I'm just minding my own business, doing my shopping, and I looked up, and there was like 3 of the tallest, slenderest, most gorgeous people I have ever seen. They look like almost teenagers. They were so tall, all blonde, blue-eyed, and they were so pretty. The girls were pretty, even the boy was pretty. They were walking around looking at stuff, and it looked like they had their mom with them or somebody. She wasn't as tall, and I'm like, oh, Lordy. Look at that. And immediately I thought, I bet they're aliens.
Yeah.
Just thought to myself.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about how you have dealt with these interactions with aliens with your family, and like who beyond you, your sister, and your mom have experienced alien contact?
Well, probably. Well, I'm sure my 2 children, which they're not thrilled about the thought of that now that they're adults. My oldest son doesn't want to talk about it at all, but it is what it is. And then possibly my granddaughter when she was little, which makes my heart hurt to think of it, but it is what it is as well. And she's great now, and she's fabulous, actually.
Good.
She just started college, and she's going to be a computer scientist, so she's very smart.
Wow.
Like her dad and her mom. Her mom's smart too, and her grandma. But
of course,
bless her heart. But you know, we don't know a lot about my mother, her birth family, because she was adopted.
Okay.
At 2, so that's a big question mark that I hope to someday find out a little more about that. But then also there's the case of my close family, my close friends. And actually, even one of my cousins reached out to me a few years ago when he saw me on television, and he said he was proud of me and that I wasn't the only member of the family who had these experiences, which shocked me because I had never heard that from anybody else in my family before.
Wow.
When I was intrigued, but I didn't really push it because that's not how my family rolled,
Yeah.
But so I made note of that. I thought, oh, that's interesting. But and a lot of the friends, people, when I moved away from that house where June 30th, 83 happened, and I got my own apartment, it kind of followed me, like it followed my sisters when they moved out. And once I got settled in my apartment and I made friends with the single mom that lived above me, I started telling her about some of this weird stuff, and eventually she started coming downstairs, and she made a comment to me one time, nothing weird ever happened around here until you moved in. She would tell me about how she woke up and there were these little guys with these hood capes standing at the foot of her bed. It freaked her out. And one time her balcony railings were rattling and shaking real bad, which incidentally coincided with a weird dream that I had that night down underneath her. So it seems like it kind of follows us around, and it touches the people that we have the closest contacts with. My BFF of 55 years, we grew up together, and we still talk to each other every day. We live 10 minutes from each other.
Wow.
And married best friends. And she has been through several things in my life, including things, when we were teenagers with me. And she's had odd experiences as well. So, it kind of, I don't know what they call that, the hitchhiker effect. It kind of jumps on people off of us, and, but it's never been a negative thing for them. So that's good.
That's good.
Thankful for that. Yeah.
Do you feel like most of your experiences have been traumatic, or
early on, the physical contact that I had was traumatic because, I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
And then the fear of the unknown, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But after June 30, 83, there were probably only, a handful of physical contact experiences that weren't as traumatic, and eventually that stopped altogether, and the contact switched from the physical, here in this physical dimension to more mental, kind of like the lucid dreaming started.
Okay. Do you feel like that's telepathic, or?
Pardon me?
Do you feel like that's telepathic?
Possibly, yes.
So,
yeah, it's definitely different, and the fear factor has faded dramatically for me. I'm no longer afraid of this sort of contact.
What changed?
That's good.
What changed? How did you get to that point?
Well, some of this lucid dreaming, and people call them downloads now. Back in my day, that I never heard of that term and didn't connect all of this. But I would have things pop in my mind that I would write down that would actually distract me to the point of I couldn't do what I was doing until I stopped, wrote it down, and then once I got it out of my head and on paper where it wouldn't get lost, then I could carry on, and it would leave me alone.
Okay.
Things like, fear, don't be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of. Fear slows the process. All the answers that you seek are in your blood. Light used for healing and nutrition and travel and all kinds of weird stuff, culminating, and it started out simple like that, just phrases and thoughts and a lot of designs. Like,
yeah, I think you're an amazing artist, by the way.
Thank you.
I
wish I could like draw,
you do draw. You draw really well. I think you could if you wanted to. I mean, if you put your mind to it, because you're really good at it.
I pull out, what I'm trying to do with those drawings I do is I take out of my head what it is I see and put it in a place where other people can see it, because you can't just I wish I could just go inside your head and there you could see it, but it doesn't work that way here. So, I try to pull it out, and I notice that when I'm drawing things like connected to this whole, stuff, sometimes, or especially early on, all I had to do was look at a blank piece of paper and it would almost project out of my head onto the paper, and I just fill in the lines. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen like that so much anymore. But when I was younger and when it first started, it was very much like that.
That's cool. I love that.
Yeah,
I want to go back because I could talk. I want to go in that direction because I love the art that you've done, and but I'm curious about how they find you. How do you feel they keep connected with you?
Well, there is. I had something happen to me just a few years ago that might answer that question. Or maybe at least a little bit. And this was not a dream, or not a lucid dream, or not even really a download, I don't think. And I'm not prone to hear voices and things like that.
Okay.
And my therapist has assured me I'm not insane.
No.
Sometimes I wonder. But I was outside. It was in the fall a few years ago. Sound is very important to me. That I've learned that through these, things I get from them,
sure,
or from wherever. So I've got my headphones in and I am listening to like my favorite tunes, feeling very zen and mellow and just like connecting to the energy around me, to the earth around me, going for a walk out there, enjoying that last bit of nice fall weather.
Sure.
And I'm walking around my cul-de-sac because I'm an old lady. I don't want to go too far in case I heard something. But all of a sudden I hear this man's voice come up behind me and he said, "Hey, Deb." And I pulled my earbud out and I turned around immediately thinking I was going to see, a neighbor come up to me and talk to me. But there wasn't anyone there. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird because he was really loud. And so I looked around to see if there was somebody in some of the bushes in the neighbor's yards or anything. And I yelled out, "Yeah, what? Hello?" Something to that effect. And he started talking right away. Even though there was no one there, it was like he was standing right next to me. And it wasn't coming out of my earbud because I had it in my hand.
Wow. And
he said, "Do you know that where I am, you're just a little light bouncing around in our darkness, but you're really, really bright and easy to see."
Sure.
And then he said, "But where I live, I actually look just like you." And he said, "And when you see little lights bouncing around in the darkness where you live, that's us. Because you can only perceive us that way. But we really look just like you where we live." And I'm like, well, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, I've lost my mind. and then I think, okay, well, have you met you? Let's just go with it. And so I said out loud, "Are you dead?" Because, I've gotten into paranormal stuff. So I'm like, "Are you dead? I'm thinking, are you a spirit or something?" And he laughed and he said, "No, I'm as alive as you are." And I said, "Well, are you one of those gray guys?" And then he laughed again and he said, "No, they're your future." And I said, "Well, then who are you?" And that was the end of the conversation.
Interesting.
So I thought, that is weird as hell.
Yeah.
And I got my phone and I wrote it all down in my notes, because that's what I do with all the weird stuff now. And then I looked around and hoped that nobody saw me talking to the air, kind of waved my phone around like I was pretending I was talking on the phone. And I went on about my business. And then when I got home, I immediately called a bunch of my friends, and I'm like, I have lost my mind. You're not going to believe what. But so, to answer your question, it would appear that somewhere they can see some of us, or they're aware of some of us, and that's how they can find us.
So the other people that you've talked to, some of them had implants at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So do you feel like they put those, certain races of aliens need those to keep in contact with people or communicate with them, or what do you think those
maybe
are?
Initially, maybe 40 years ago, I don't know. And there are a few incidences that made me think that I possibly had something like that at some point in my life, but and that just may be certain races, because I feel like there's a lot of different life out there, with a lot of different agendas, doing a lot of different things. And for my own personal experiences, even though I have had some, physical contact, it's left, marks in the yard and witnesses and everything else. I still feel that most of my contact has been more extra dimensional or interdimensional rather than extraterrestrial, unless you want to kind of put the two together and say they live in another galaxy on another planet, but they're stepping over here like they're stepping over a baby gate.
Sure.
Sideways. They're not flying here in spaceships. I don't know what people see in the skies.
Yeah.
My personal feeling is, unless they want you to see them, and I don't think they want everybody to, they don't need lights. Right. And so my personal feeling is most of what you see with lights on, probably somebody made it here,
Interesting.
But then again, if I've been in a situation where me and other people have seen something truly extraordinary and huge, and yet you would think, because it was in such a big city, that thousands of people would have seen this thing and nobody reported it.
Yes,
so
I've experienced
there's
that
also
too.
That possibility that some, not everybody's meant to see it, or not everybody's capable of it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. The one
These are
I
just
saw,
my theories and thoughts.
Yeah, the one I saw was huge, and probably if I had stood I was on the second story building. If I had stood on the windowsill, I could have almost touched it. It was that close. It was flying over, over the building, and it was so large that, it was larger than any plane I've seen, or military plane, or anything like that. It was probably 3 times the size, and at least, and it was silent, and it did have lights underneath it, but and other people,
and something my mom and I saw had, when it was completely black, but as soon as it got directly above us, it lit up like a Christmas tree underneath. So there's that.
Yeah, so I don't know either, but
for me, the bottom line is, we're not here alone. Even if we can't always see them, that doesn't mean they're not there. Just like I'm sitting in my office right now, and I probably got 5 Wi-Fi signals from different places coming right through me, but I don't know that, because I'm not a router, and I'm not made to receive those things. I can't. My brain's not wired for that. But that doesn't mean they don't exist. They're right here in this room with me. And it's the same. I feel like it's the same thing with that non-intelligent life that we're dealing with right now.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, there's life all around us. We just can't see it because we're not made. We're not wired for it.
Do you mean
Some people aren't? I mean, I feel like I've got an extra wire harness since 1983, and I perceive things around me that other people may not be able to. But that doesn't mean they aren't. It just means they haven't gotten their switch flipped yet.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about your psychic abilities, because it's clear to me that you have a tremendous amount of psychic abilities. Obviously, you're clairvoyant because you project these images, into your drawings that have turned, you've actually gotten evidence of them in crop circles and things like that. What else do you feel? I mean, do you actually have conversations with dead people?
Yeah, I have. I know that sounds crazy.
No, it doesn't, because I do it easily. To me, they're just as alive as somebody sitting next to me.
And in the early 2000s, I got really interested in some called electronic voice phenomenon, EVPs, and I recorded some absolutely phenomenal ones over the years with my buddy Greg. Greg and I have been in this together in the paranormal stuff for probably 15 or 20 years now. And just a few years ago, we were in a private residence here in Kokomo, and he and I were the only two people in the room. We were the only two people in the house, except the guy in the base station we had set up downstairs, far away from where we were up in the attic. So, and we're sitting there just talking and carrying on. We just tend to joke around and giggle a lot when we do our EVP sessions.
Sure.
And I had been drinking a Dr. Pepper. It made my belly bubble and gurgle really loud. You could hear it on. I have a fantastic recorder. It's an H1 Zoom. It's stereo recorder. Okay. You can hear a frog fart in another room on this thing. It's magnificent. And Greg's got like an H6, which is even better. But so we're sitting there just laughing because we could hear my stomach gurgle on the recorder. And I started laughing and called myself Mrs. Gurgles McGurgleson or something like that. And Greg started laughing. And then I started to speak again. And this voice actually stepped over me. And it was as if she leaned into the microphone right between Greg and I. And she said, "Gurgles." And it was so loud. It was a woman's voice, but you could tell she was tickled at that word.
That's great.
I can send you that EVP if you want to hear it. It is fantastic. Well, no one believes it's an EVP. It's so good.
No, I actually heard it on your paranormal.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I listened to
it's good, isn't it?
That particular. That's the only one I listened to, because I'm just trying to catch up with all the things you've been doing. But I listened to that one, and it sounded exactly like she was in the room with you.
Yeah, it did not sound like the EVPs that you hear on these TV shows. Anyway, Greg and I laugh at those.
Yeah.
But my very first EVP that I caught was over 30 years ago. And it was with my nephew and I. We did a session on a Sunday afternoon in my house when I lived in Indy. And the first one I ever caught was so clear, and it was an old man's voice, and he said, "Are the spirits listening?" And a little, childlike voice came in behind him that said, "Can I listen too?" Oh. And I looked at my nephew, and I had this epiphany. At that point, I realized we're not alone. I'm like, oh my God, we are the spirits to somebody else, somewhere else, and they're listening to us.
Yes.
You know, it was amazing. So that's what kicked me off, and that's got me started. So
that's fantastic. Yeah, one of my favorite.
I have a lot of EVPs that say, "Hey, Dad," so they know my name. After 30 years, they know my name.
Is it you going to different places, the same places, or is it they just kind of follow you around?
I go to different places. I go all over. We went all over the place for quite a while. So yeah, it wasn't just in a place. It was everywhere.
That is fantastic. So do you feel that you are psychic? I mean, do you consider yourself psychic?
Yeah. I do. And the
Good.
more I trust it, the better it gets.
Awesome. Because I love when people realize and embrace it, because to me, it adds such dimension to your life. It's so fun.
It's an excellent tool for navigating in this world. I can walk past someone and almost feel their whole life in a flash.
Yeah.
And that can come in handy sometimes.
Yes, it can.
Pay attention to your gut, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
Will never lead you wrong. Listen to it.
Yes, I agree. I always say trust yourself more.
Trust your first judgment also.
Yes.
Once you start to second guess yourself, your monkey brain is kicked in and you're done.
Yeah.
That first flash that you get is usually the best.
I think that's excellent advice. Your first flash is the best. Pay attention and trust it. Yeah, I love that. So do you what do you recommend for people going through trauma of any kind? Trauma is something you don't invite. It's something that happens to you, and I feel like you said, sad about your granddaughter having experienced that. Most likely she's going to turn it around because she has you in her life, But for people who don't have a backup system, or people that they trust, that they feel like they can talk to about their experiences, what do you recommend for healing trauma?
Well, I want them to remember something that I figured out with myself too. And I've had trauma outside of paranormal UFO stuff with, other things in my life. And I've come to realize that I see myself as a little pebble in a slingshot. And I see the universe as the hand that pulls that slingshot way down. And it's sometimes painful. It's so down. But when the universe lets that go, that little pebble can soar even higher, so I see myself in that way. And I want people to remember, as they go through traumatic events, whether it's connected to this or not, you can come out through it better and stronger than ever. That is your choice. And I felt like a victim in the beginning of these things, and I didn't ask for this. And but at some point I decided I didn't want to be that anymore. I wanted to be a survivor, and I used it. The best advice I can have for anybody going through anything traumatic that they're struggling with, that they're afraid of, is to reach out. Now, when I was experiencing this 40-some years ago, we didn't have all the resources that we have now. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have Zoom support groups. We didn't have all these clubs and support groups all over the place. Reach out to one and talk about your events. I find that taking it outside of my mind and out of my body, and putting it out there into the universe and speaking it out loud gives me a new perspective on it, and sharing it with other people like me is, there's no better medicine than talking about things and letting it out, because there's more room for it out here than there is in there. And also I write the books that I've written are essentially journals that I've kept for 40 years. That I've shared with other people so they could see my journey as I navigate through this thing that we call life, and hopefully help somebody else. I see myself as kind of like a Johnny Appleseed. Sometimes I don't have answers for people.
Sure.
But I feel like if I said one thing or one sentence that triggered something in you that started you on your journey, then I did what I came here to do. And so, I feel like just reach out, talk to people. Don't be afraid. Look at me. I am still here. I'm 66 years old. I've been through some crazy stuff and some scary stuff and some hard stuff. And I'm still here, and I'm better than ever. And if you'd asked me when I was 25, would I change anything? If I could make it all go away and not have to experience it, I probably would have said, hell yeah.
Yes.
But now, in looking back, I wouldn't change a thing, because every single thing that I have been through in my life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, has all created what I have become. It's all a part of who I am now, and I'm really good with that.
That's great.
And like I said, I'm still a work in progress. I'm going to be evolving and growing until the day I stop breathing here and move on to the next place. So, but reach out. There's a lot of places out there you can get support from that. And there are millions of people just in this country alone, just like you. You're not alone. So never
That's
forget
beautiful.
that also.
I love that. Thank you for that advice.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Do you feel
Thanks for asking me.
You're welcome. It means a lot to me to hear that. I mean, your story has been healing for me, and just the things that you're sharing today are healing. So thank you for sharing it. Do you feel that people are still being abducted?
I hear stories still to this day, yeah. I don't hear them as much as I did in the past. Seemed like the time between, I'm going to say, the 70s and the 90s were really busy.
Yeah.
But,
what was that all about?
I have no idea. I don't know. But I do think it still happens today. I just think I don't know if people are, maybe it's different. It's happening in a different way than it was. Okay. I'm not sure, but I do believe it still happens.
Do you think they're still harvesting fetuses and?
I don't have any idea what they're up to.
Okay, because that is really what do you think their purpose was with that?
It's hard telling. I mean, nobody ever told me exactly why. Other than I recall one time one of those gray dudes saying, "I don't know why you're so shitty about it, because this is a good thing for you and for us." But he didn't elaborate. So I'm not sure. I have theories, but they're just mine. I'm not a scientist. And,
yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, I just think that is one of the most traumatic things. I've heard stories of women, and I love the X-Files. I was following the X-Files, for years, and one of the things that they talk about in there, theoretically, and then they show Scully in this support group of women who have lost their babies because they've been harvested by the Greys. Mm-hmm. And then to find out that actually happened a lot, and I know you're one of those people that had that experience. And I just think that is
women out there like that have had, and men have had this. I've talked to men who have had experience with meeting what they were told was their child. So it's not just women.
Wow.
Well, of course, we're the pregnant ones, but
right,
men
but they
are involved
take their
in this
sperm,
as well.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's so traumatic. I mean, my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry that you had to go through that, and for all the women that have gone through that, it's
something that stays with you for your whole life. But I mean, it's like with everything in my life that I have no control. You can't always control the things that happen to you, but you can control how you adjust to it, or how you react or respond to it. So I've chosen to accept the things that I can't change.
Yes. Yeah, that's really healthy. So what do you find humorous now that you didn't back then? You can look back on these experiences and, you can laugh about some of these things now that you couldn't then.
Well, I don't really actually. I use humor as a coping mechanism. So if I crack a joke about something, 9 times out of 10, it's because if I didn't laugh, I would probably cry.
Yes.
So, but if I was going to laugh at anything, it would be me being such a dork sometimes. And, but other than that, I don't think any of it's funny or humorous. I just, other than I use humor as a coping mechanism for things that make me uncomfortable. I'm a nervous giggler. Don't ever take me to a funeral if you don't want somebody giggling. I'm just saying.
Yes, I think those of us who tap into the paranormal and things like that, it's we have a darker sense of humor. Because
I do.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean it is a great coping I think it's a healthy coping mechanism because it is, so many things we can't control. Our humor is in the sense that, there's nothing you can do about it. So
well, they say laughter is the best medicine sometimes.
Yes,
so there you
and
go.
I do agree. I think it's really important. So going forward, I want to wrap things up with you because I really appreciate your time, and I really would love for people to know about the current things that you've been on and share that information about so that they can see you talk about awesome things and hear you and know more about you. So what kinds of things have you been doing lately that have been
most recently
out there?
I was on there's a series on National Geographic that you can also see on Hulu and Discovery Plus. It's through Disney, and it's called Investigating the Unknown. I was in season 3, episode 5 and 6 on that, and I was very proud of the way that they integrated the experiencer into disclosure, and they did it in such an easy and gentle way. It was an excellent series, and I highly recommend it for anybody to see. And so I was involved with that, and I don't do those kinds of things very often, but when I'm approached and somebody asks me about it,
sure.
I listen to the universe and I listen to my instincts, and if it tells me I need to do this, then I do it. And that was one of those times. I am going to Denver in October, and I'm going to be a guest on Beyond Belief with George Norrie on the Gaia TV network.
Fantastic.
And that will be on, later. I don't know exactly when that will air, but that's going to be, I think, a good one. And, of course, I wrote the last book I wrote, Extraordinary Contact, Life Beyond Intruders. That's basically a bunch of my journals kind of all put together to help you see where I've been and how I'm doing now.
That's a 5-star book, by the way. I'm definitely going to put that link for people to find.
And I appreciate that. You can buy that at any online bookseller, like Amazon or Books A Million or Barnes and Nobles.
Cool.
And then I have Greg and I do a podcast. We've been kind of on hiatus here lately because we've both had some health issues we've had to deal with. But it's called Midwest Para Talk Radio, and there's a bunch of archived old, from some 15 years ago. You can go in there and watch our old videos and laugh at us because we were some goofy young people. And then I also co-host with RJ and Deb DeRusse and Mary Bassett and oh my God, I just had an old person data sticker. It's on YouTube, and it's called Voices of Contact. Okay. And I'm a co-host on that, and it airs on Friday evenings at 8 p.m. And I have a website. On my website, I've had for 20 plus years now. It's actually probably longer than that. It's debshome.com. And at that website, you can learn more about me and my experiences. You can see my art and my photos of all of my friends through the years. We post a lot of stuff from the science world that I find fascinating and I like to follow, and some disclosure stuff. And also, you can email me through that website if you care to share your experiences with me. If you just want somebody to listen, I may not have any answers for you. I might be able to connect you with someone if I know someone in your area, if you would like that. But otherwise, if you just want to write me, you can write to me through that website.
Thanks for joining me on Bright Pink Soul today. I'm SK, and I would love to hear from you. If you'd like to share your questions, stories, or experiences, whether for the podcast or just personally, send me a message at skcawthron.com. That's all for now. Until next time, take good care.